Boss Grandola music.
Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, I'ma take it back from the goal line. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma take it back from the goal line. Sports song. He say hut, then I go long. Scoring all them touchdowns, I gotta stand that end zone. Pick me up a basketball, I can make a shot when I'm in the dark. I can grab a baseball and hit the ball right out the park. I'm a crazy different athlete and I really got talent. Basketball and baseball, two different sports and I can still balance. Can't forget that football, cause that's really my real passion. Catch me on that big
Welcome back. Welcome to the sideline, the baseline with MB and K Lou show, y'all. It's that time again, and all I can say, first two words come to my mind tonight is who that?
Who that nation, baby?
Hey, and look here now. It's a little double condition when you say who that. It's because you got two Miami boys in the building too. So
don't hate.
It's a little J2 money action with the who that action too, baby. Who that trying to get up in my crew? All right. Aye. Hey, we need y'all fans right now to like, subscribe, follow, holla at your boys. Get in the building. We here. Smash, like, everything, man. We got Jonathan Vilma in the building, man. Super Bowl champion, 3-time Pro Bowler, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, New Orleans Saint Hall of Fame.
Well, you know how we do it at the U, baby. You know how we do it at the U.
Listen, first team All-American. Listen, BCS Natty champ. You know, he was with them boys, MB. Hey, man, we thought y'all was them boys, and then they came back and had a second coming that, boy, I don't know if you can match it. I guess it's that 83 class you always like to talk about. MB is the only class maybe be able to match up when them boys came out in 01, man. They was real dangerous. Hey, Jack Lambert trophy winner, first team all Big E. And then y'all found the light and came on board to the ACC. Jonathan Vilma, what's going on, bro?
Man, I don't know how to follow up after that intro, man.
He promoted you like Don King promoted.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. I need to keep you around all the time, K. Lou. I mean, damn, you know, that wasn't too bad. That was pretty good.
Man, you
feel
gonna
good
take
about myself.
You gonna take me on the road with you?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Hey, I always say, man, promotions like that, it's good to have your wife around, man. Hey, see, baby, see who you married to? Hey, I told you I was just hey, just remind you. I need to remind you who you married to. I'm the man.
Sir. Yes, sir.
What's up? Hey, my man, Jonathan Vilma, man, welcome, man. Hey, well deserved though, Jonathan. I mean, you, man, epitomized, man, what a student athlete was all about, man. Not only all pro on the field, but all pro in the classroom, man. I mean, on top of that, man, your post career is even all pro as well, Hall of Fame. I mean, you business wise, you got stuff going on. You made the switch. You start on ESPN, then you switch, right? Just got that new money. Money make it rain, baby, make it rain. Show me the money. Right? Hey, I can't wait for you to take me out with those fresh Benjamins that you just got from signing with Fox. But man, well deserved, man. And that is not by mistake, man. It's because you're intentional. And ever since I've been knowing you, since you was at UM, man, you always been intentional about taking care of business, always been mature. Tell me about your childhood. Tell me where you get that from. What is the secret ingredient to your gumbo? Why you so successful?
Oh man, I don't think there's a secret. You know, growing up, I was always very competitive, and you know, I always thank my parents because they nurtured that competitive drive, right? So I played soccer growing up, and I was really good for my age. So instead of my dad keeping me on the same age group, he put me, a couple of years ahead. So now I'm going against if I were 10 years old, I'm going against 12, 13-year-old kids. And it was always about being competitive. So he would never let me get away with, oh, it's okay. The boys are older than you. It's okay. It was like, no, you got to go and compete. And I put you in this age group because I need to see you compete at your best, at your highest. And that was always something that stuck with me, where it transferred not just from on the field, but off the field as well, talking about classrooms, because, I would get, let's say I got a B in something. Well, if my dad felt like I was, taking it too easy, he's like, well, you could have gotten an A. You could have gotten an A+. I mean, what's the deal here? Why did you get a B? And it's like, well, Dad, that's good. No, that's not good for you. You need to set your own standards and set the bar. And, always doing that and having, my mom and dad, where they constantly fueled that competitive drive, that competitive nature, I think that carried over to then when I'm now old enough to know what my standards need to be and the bar that need to be set. And, I fast forward from my younger days to college. And to be honest, you were the one that fueled that bar, Michael Barrow. I watched you, dismantle Tamarick Vanover in the Orange Bowl. I watched you set the standard. You had the jersey rolled up here. You want to show your little 6-pack back in the college days. And, I used to see that and be like, oh, okay. That's what it is to be a Miami linebacker. Well, okay. Well, I got something for that. Let me go ahead and set that bar and set the standard and go ahead and keep representing. So, that's really.
I wish I could do that now, but I got the beer belly, man.
Yeah. So you just put your shirt down.
Hey,
it's not
Stop
the same.
Stop
Don't sleep on me, baby. Don't sleep on me. I got a 4-pack.
Yeah, it's not the same.
His
Yeah,
kids on this show, man.
Yeah, Sean, this is what you walked into, man.
Inspire me, baby. When you get me pumped up, I'm ready to go. Sign me up.
But that's where it came from. As a child, fortunately being nurtured to say, it's okay to compete. It's okay to go ahead and want to, beat, not just win against your opponent, really destroy your opponent. It's okay to want to do that and want to have that feeling inside. It's okay to not feel good about going against lesser competition. There'll be times where, and you remember this, Mike, back then Rutgers was horrible and they were the worst team in the Big East. And when we played them, it didn't really mean much. Okay, we beat them by 30. So what? And it wasn't bragging or being obnoxious or anything like that. It was really about, I want to play against the best of the best. I want the top talent, the top competition, so that when I beat the top competition, I know that I went against your very best. And if I lose, then I'm going to figure out, okay, this is how I need to adjust to be able to beat you the next time.
Man, that's powerful, man. You know what? It's so funny. Believe me or not, I had no idea you was going to say that stuff. And I got this quote on this virtual background. It says, everyone wants to be great until it's time to do what greatness requires. And it's a price to pay for that success. And I love it, man, because, the enemy of a great is good. And when I hear you talk, man, like even from your parents, like especially your parents are from Haitian descent, man, they were fighters, they had to come and they had nobody gave them anything. Everything they got, they earned, and they gave that to you. And I hear it in your voice. So when I talk about secret sauce, I see it. It's no secret. It's just common sense. It's just, you paid the price to be your best. You put in the work, and that's why you were successful, not just on the field, but off the field as well. Man, that's good. Coach, what's up, Coach Payton? I'm talking to you. Hold on, we got to take you off of mute. Unmute yourself, baby. I'm talking to your captain right here, Jonathan Vilma, baby.
Hey, I get chills listening to you guys talk because I was lucky enough to coach both of you.
No doubt. And you, and we used to go, Coach, it was like the way you coach is almost like you was playing through your players. We used to talk noise all the time. And you'd be like right in the middle of it, like, Coach, get back. You be trying to fight. And we be talking noise. And look, at Vilma, know what I'm saying? It's the same.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Mike.
Like, it's competitive, man. We just competing to be the best, man. And Coach, that's the way you coach, man. And no reason why your team, like that old movie, Remember the Titans? Like, my man hit him with that line, man. Hey, attitude reflect leadership. And the attitudes of teams that you're involved have your attitude, man, because your leadership.
We are in a passion industry, and if you lack that, it'll get exposed.
Yeah.
And so, the one thing around the great Bill Parcells is practice. You just saw his passion, and then when I was with you at New York first with the Giants, and then later JV with the Saints, man, it takes every day the competitive nature of how you approach it, offense and defense, in order to become what you guys are talking about, perform at that elite level. You can't just wait for Sundays or Saturdays. You have to create that on Tuesday, and
Right.
that's the one thing. As a coach, I'm lucky enough to be around guys. We're always looking for guys that care and have passion. And if you start with that, and then you put on the skill set and the talent that you all have, then you start coming up with something special.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing now. All of us are fathers here, and that's one of the things I'm trying to identify what my child is passionate about, so we could push him towards that direction. Because you're right. If you're not passionate about it, man, you're not gonna go the extra mile. It's gonna feel like work. It's gonna feel like whatnot. Vilma, talk about that, man. Especially being at Green Tree practice field when that heat beating down your throat, man. How did you get through that? Like, I know you're feeling. Sometimes we don't feel like practicing. We don't feel like even playing in the game. How did you endure? How did you take it to the next level?
And I see CJ down there laughing.
CJ,
He knows how hot it was at, not just Miami. I can relate to both Miami and New Orleans when Sean finally brought us back to New Orleans to have training camp and not Millsap. That was the worst thing you ever did was Millsaps. But anyway, that was
it seemed like it's still some
oh
hurt right
my
there.
God, it was the worst of the worst.
Hey,
I thought I made the wrong move going to New Orleans.
Hey, Michael, the birds didn't fly in Millsaps.
No,
Huh?
Nope.
hey, that
No
was a
birds.
lonely road. Let me tell you something, man. That was a lonely road going to Millsap, Jackson, Mississippi. But the competition is really what kept me going because you can think about how hot it is. You can think about how you're gonna sweat and be tired in 2 days, this, that, and the other. But that's what you signed up for. So my whole thing was, look, it is what it is. So I got other things to worry about. I got to worry about the defense. I got to worry about starting. I got to worry about the 5-star linebacker that they recruited that's right behind me, 6'3", 240 pounds. And I got to make sure that I'm doing my job, right? And then from there, it's like, okay, now I got this other side with Willis McGahee, Frank Gore, Clinton Portis, Jeremy Shockey, Andre Johnson. They're over there trying to kick my ass, right? So I got myself and my defense. Only thing we're worried about is beating the offense's ass because if we sit there and worry about how hot it is and we get our ass whooped every day in training camp, then clearly we're not good enough. We're too soft. And you're not going to get, back then at least, you weren't getting participation trophies. You had a defensive coordinator that would look and he was like, okay, you like to hit, you like to run the ball, you tackle, so you play. If you don't do those things, then you don't play. That's just how it went. So, I take that mentality and, like I said, fast forward over to New Orleans, and we're in New Orleans, and we're in the heat. It's just as hot, just as humid. There is no breeze coming off the ocean like in Miami. So it was a matter of competing. And, Sean and CJ know when we had our practices, they got real spirited. And if it took fighting in the practice and to get our point across, that's what would happen. If it took me taking Sean's money in the red zone, that's what it took. And, that's just some of the things that we did. Oh, I'm not done yet. Those are just some of the things that we did, to make sure that I competed and stayed at an elite level. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
Well, look, it's important in this Zoom call we have a good moderator. Because the one thing that this pandemic has taught us, it's really taught us to listen better, because when you're on these calls, obviously you've got to pause and wait for people to talk and listen. Everything Jonathan said is correct, except I would have to dispute the last thing he said. And we did compete. CJ was there every Fridays, the red zone Fridays. we sit here right now, Jonathan Vilma owes me $250.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Hey, tell us how you really feel, Coach Payton.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm good with that. I feel like, hey, I would much rather him owe me than me owe him.
Sean, I think it's more a little bit more than 250. It's a lot more than 250, Sean.
Yeah, of
They
course.
may have won twice. In
Come on, man.
CJ, me and you go back farther than you and Sean go back. You can't take his side. I know you got
about that, CJ. You don't know the history with these guys.
Yeah, you know, CJ wants a promotion. You know, that's what's going on.
No.
It's not fair. It's 2-on-1 right now.
He's the offense guy. Because Sean, hey, Vilma, Sean owe me money from the Giants, baby. He tried to get out here with the jerk route. Man, I shut that thing down. What? I used to turn to him like, take that. He know it. Look at him. Tell the truth, Shane the devil.
Michael, we would have a few calls every Friday. All right. There would always be 85% of the plays we knew who won the play, but then there'd be that 15% of the plays. We go up in the office real quick before we ate or anything, and we would watch it.
Right.
And your boy Vilma said, we can't agree on what this play should be, so let's send it to someone. I said, all right, someone neutral. He says Randy Shannon.
Yes, that's neutral.
Okay. Just to tell you what I'm dealing with. Like, he wants to send it to a green dot. I'm not sending it to a green dot. I mean, he wants to send it to a hurricane. I said, look, I'll pull up my Randy Shannons.
Oh, that's funny, man. Oh, man. Hey, welcome, CJ, man. How you doing, baby?
How you doing, Mike, man? It's been a while, Mike.
It's been a while, man. It's so great to see you, man. It's so great. Hey, I appreciate you coming on last minute, man. Hey, tell me a little bit about these guys. Start with Sean Payton, man. You've been with him since those San Diego State days, and you've been with Vilma since Vilma was a pup, man. What you got to say about these two guys?
First of all, Sean Payton, man, he and I were on our first job together. And think about Sean. Sean always had a passion. He always was smart, and he always. The best thing about Sean, he's a great communicator, and he can talk mess with the best of them. I mean, he can get it going. He's a man starter. He's a starter of it now. He can get it started. And I remember back in San Diego State, man, let me tell you this. He coached Marshall Falk. I coached Darnay Scott, and we were such good coaches back then, both of us got fired.
Hey, CJ told me, hey, you got a job at San Diego State? I said, I did. He said, yeah, you're coaching Marshall Falk. I said, what? And this was after Marshall had that rookie campaign. And one of the challenges coaching Marshall was he was so football intelligent that he was way further along than the rest of the room. And so you had to give him extra or he would get bored. And JV, you're like this, Michael, you're the same way. You all would get bored. You had to get a different formation, something entirely different in the red zone that afternoon, that whether it was Foxy, Greg Williams, Dennis Allen, whatever you prepared for, offset back, and you looked at because you all would take the pass routes and walk through them. We see you do it in practice.
Yeah.
Whoa. No, we didn't. No, hey, whoa. No, we didn't, man.
So listen, that's why we're written in pencil.
Hey, look, I got to hit a little rewind, Coach. We just kind of brought you on, but I know you're real famous and a lot of people know you, but I just want to throw a little more love your way. 2006 Coach of the Year, 2009 Super Bowl champ, 139 wins, 32 years in the business, Coach, 14 years head coach, man, and one of Eastern Illinois' finest. First question I got for you, Coach, is who you were throwing it to? Who brought you through that 11-2 season in '86?
In '86,
what?
So we had a receiver, man. We had a receiver named Roy Banks from Detroit, Motor City. He got drafted in the 4th round. We had Calvin Pierce from Chicago. Like, Here's the thing. Offensively, we were in a one-back system very, very early compared to the rest of the country. But there was this one school down at Mississippi Valley, Archie Cooley, and man, we were right up at the top. We'd throw for 590 yards on offense, 620 yards, and we'd look at the totals the next day on Sunday, and Mississippi Valley State would have 700 yards passing. And they had Willie Totten, but they had a receiver named Jerry Rice. And so when you grow up, now look, and this is nothing against the two green dots on this call. Listen, Miami, the tradition y'all have, but when you ride the bus and eat apples and Hershey bars, like when you're at Eastern Illinois or one of those directional schools, you develop a little bit of grit, toughness. And so you guys were flying first class, eating steak. And some of us were splitting pizzas at a Holiday Inn. That's the truth.
Hey, Coach. So from San Diego State to coaching under your mentor Bill Parcells, what and who shaped your football mind?
Three people. It's very simple, and I'm not discussing my parents here. My high school coach was a very special mentor to me. He helped me see a passion and helped me believe in myself. I mean, he benched me when I got a D in English and wouldn't let me start a game. So there was a foundation that I would definitely have to talk about. J.R. Bishop. So many coaches along the way, have a little piece as to who you become. The late Randy Walker at Miami of Ohio was special to me. And then my first job in the NFL was with the Philadelphia Eagles and Ray Rhodes. And there was a young offensive coordinator named John Gruden. And I was on that staff. And now here's that staff. You ready? John Gruden was the offensive coordinator. Emmett Thomas. John Harbaugh was our special teams coordinator. David Shaw was our quality control coach.
Wow.
We had, listen, Emmett Thomas, Mike Turgovac, Joe Vitt. We had a ton of talented coaches on that staff. So that was my introduction to the NFL, and that was my introduction, what I thought that I knew. And then when you get there, you realize, man, this is law school. And then finally for me, that last stop in Dallas with Parcells and understanding the whole picture as a head coach, because Bill was very good with the players. He was extremely confrontational and yet fair, and players really, I would say, cared for him because they knew that he cared for them so much.
Yeah.
So Bill was important in my growth and in my last stop. And so when I got hired in New Orleans, my very first hire was Curtis Johnson. All right. Now CJ and I were at San Diego State. Then at New York, CJ came in for one of the fall training camps while he was at Miami. Now he was just recruiting Ed Reed, Reggie Wayne, all of those players. But when I got hired in New Orleans, I called CJ up and said, "Hey, it's time for you to come home." And he's been home since. And so I think it's hard work. It's grit. It's never, ever, ever, ever not getting back up again. Because when you put it out there, one of the things that keeps players from competing at the highest level is fear of failure. Right. Like you have to be willing to fail.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to fail, whether that's something that scarred you at an early life or you were disappointed by someone you were counting on, if you're not willing to fail, then you're never going to reach that pinnacle that you're trying to get to. And so you have to be willing to put it out there and not succeed to really test where you're at. And I think that's what we're constantly working with, man. Don't be afraid that success doesn't come. Be more afraid of never ever giving it everything you got. And so man, we created that environment, and not, when I say we, many people, many coaches and players were a part of creating what is now what we hear the culture in New Orleans. which I feel like is one of the best cultures in our league.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
Well, Coach, you know, one name I heard left out of that group, and it's actually what I think about. Of course, getting a chance to practice against you all the time in New York, and
hey, wait a minute, who is this?
K. Lou.
Hey, Lou.
Oh my gosh, man! I don't have a name on here. Listen, Michael, you can't shoot me a text to tell me K. Lou's going to be on here.
Hey, Lou, Coach, I told you, man, in the text.
Listen, I'm a little bit behind. Last
Coach,
week, CJ knows this.
but
I took a Zoom call to the restroom on accident last week. K. Lou, I apologize.
No worries,
Hey,
Coach.
listen, but we used to get after your ass too.
Yeah, you. Hey, but here go. This is what I always think about Coach Payton, man. I think about, and I never knew the connection until doing the research on him with the Marshall Faulk thing, because of course there I came in, Tiki was there, and as well as Sean Bennett. And you found out really quickly that he loved that type of back. So I'm like, what in the world? So then when I'm doing my research, I was like, that's why this joker been trying to coach Marshall Faulk his whole career all the way through. Like, he gonna find Marshall Faulk. So, Coach, when we look through your career, we see the influence as well. You named a bunch of guys that I know they also are part. Marshall Faulk is a huge part because you can find him in your backfield everywhere you been.
Listen, when I worked out Alvin Kamara, CJ knows this. We had a week with the owners playing. We went down to Lubbock, Texas. We worked out a quarterback. We spent half day on this player. We got on the plane. I said, I'm drafting that player. All right, that was Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. We landed in Knoxville, Tennessee. There were 7 Tennessee players we were going to work out the next day. All our coaches had all the players. Our running back coach wasn't with us. So I said, hey, I'll take Kamara. Alvin didn't want to work out. I said, Alvin, you're working out. The head coach, I'm here. We're not going to do a whole lot. Put your shoes on. And he started doing things. And I right away saw with Alvin, like Marshall, he's extremely smart. He's the smartest guy. CJ will vouch for. He's the smartest guy in our offense aside from Breeze. And so Alvin would do something, and he'd look at me like, "Are you impressed?" And I'd say, "That was pretty good, but Faulk did it a little bit better." And look, Michael, you might not remember it, and Vilma, you might not, but man, Jesse Armstead told the story. We played down in the Orange Bowl with Marshall Faulk, and man, Armstead said, "Hey, we're going into that game. We're going to hold this joker to under 100 yards. All right." They went on and on about, hey, we're stopping this Marshall Faulk. At halftime, Marshall had 115 yards. Jesse said, hey, let's get out of here with the win.
Coach, that's the gospel truth, man. We were like, yeah, we got, man, because I guess he needed a certain amount of yards to break a record. He's like, man, we was like, not on our watch. Nobody ever rushed over 100 over us, man. Man, we was talking that joke. That joker was running like a grown man. We was like, yeah, we stopped him. After the game, that joker don't broke the record. We like, yeah, how you do all that? We didn't. Hey, that joker, man, not only could he just run by you, but he will run you over. You see, if you want to, he will run you over. And I mean, that young Marshall,
he was very
got
good.
an NFL and got the contract. He started dialing down a little bit. But that young Marshall Faulk, when that freshman year, you better buckle your chin strap. You better put your mouthpiece in because he'll hit you in the mouth.
Hey, and here's the thing, Michael. We used to wear the black pants, the black jerseys, all right, with the black helmets. And Marshall's skin color was darker than the jerseys and the helmets. And all you saw was his mouthpiece and a little bit of white and his socks, and that was it. He'd run out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
He was a monster. He had everybody tuning in every Saturday. We didn't even know where or who San Diego State was until that guy was running in that jersey.
CJ, to CJ's credit, CJ recruited him and signed him. And I wasn't there when that took place. I was coaching at Indiana State. But CJ went back home and Coach Luganville gave CJ a lot of latitude. CJ, man, CJ would put 4 or 5 jokers on the plane from New Orleans. No one knew who was coming in. One of them was Marshall Faulk. And so he came in to camp with San Diego State as really the second recruited back. Wayne Pittman was the parade All-American.
Right.
And that first time in college, when you have that first scrimmage and they gave Marshall a handoff and he ran around everybody, it was it now. And his old coach, who passed away this year, all right, the late, great Wayne Reese. And when you're in New Orleans, you can't understand the lingo sometimes, but he used to say he's got that voice. And man, I'm telling you what, it was nothing like it. He was electric.
He was a grown man. I could attest to that. When you talk about who's one of the best, he's right there in front of the line, because not only he can run and he was receive out the back. He was a true receiver out the backfield. He could have been a Pro Bowl receiver.
Right. And look, Jesse Armstead, to his credit, did so many things well, but like running in space wasn't one of them. Because he was kind of pigeon-toed,
Oh, God.
Come on, man.
Hey,
no,
and
pigeon-toed too.
And knock
no,
knee.
pigeon-toed.
Jesse was pigeon-toed and knock knee. I don't know.
Not me. Either one of them. He was both of them.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what, though, we had some battles. And when you went, people don't realize the old Orange Bowl, man, CJ, you remember the buses would pull up. We'd get out, the gate would be closed. We'd wait. Man, some joker about 6'8" would come out, open the gate with a scar on his chin. And you knew you were in for a fugazi now. That steam started coming out. And Vilma and them started walking through your warm-ups. Hey.
Yeah. We had some battles with San Diego State now. I don't know if you was there when we played y'all up there in San Diego. It was
the fight year.
Yeah, Mike, we won a fight, Mike.
Oh, come on, really? Come on, CJ. Tell the truth.
CJ, listen, he's right. I got video of the fight, and somewhere in that fight is The Rock getting his butt kicked too.
Oh, you crazy, man.
Not the people's champ. The people's champ had to win, man.
Hey, we was turning out. Hey, we was laying jokers out, man. That's when you could fight and not get in trouble. That was back in the day, man. The good old days, man. Like the bad boys, man. Well, speaking of good old days, man, tell me, man, why both of you guys, right? I know, Vilma, you got traded from New York from the Big Apple, but Coach, why did you go from America team to Who Dat Nation, right? Because it wasn't Who Dat Nation at the time. What made you decide to go to New Orleans? Because at the time, the fans was wearing a paper bag, right? They only had probably one playoff win, and then you got Jim Moore talking about playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs, right? You could have went anywhere else. Why did you decide to go to New Orleans?
I had a chance to go to the Raiders after my first year in New Orleans in 2003, or in Dallas in 2003. And I stayed for 2 more seasons with the Cowboys and Coach Parcells. And then after the 2005 season, I had an interview in Green Bay, an interview in New Orleans, and then one lined up with Buffalo. And look, what people forget was New Orleans just went through Hurricane Katrina. So the team was in San Antonio, and it really wasn't even about football. CJ knows this. There were so many questions about school, healthcare, hospitals, just the infrastructure of that city was in question. So when I went on my Saints interview, I had already been to Green Bay, and I just kept, man, when I landed at the airport and Mickey Loomis picked me up, and he was the only person I saw at the airport all day, I just looked at my phone. I kept waiting for the Green Bay call, because the challenges at that time just looked very difficult. But that evening, freshening up, getting ready for dinner, I found out that I wasn't going to be going to Green Bay. Now I'm straightening my tie up because I didn't want to go freeze my butt off in Buffalo. And it was fate. It was when you look at what happened with Drew and Miami and their recruitment and our recruitment and how he ended up there. And then even Reggie Bush, who was going to go to Houston, and at the last minute, they selected another player. We drafted. Sometimes our career paths take us in directions that we can't map out. And as long as our mindset is mapped out, then we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I love it, man. And talk about that mindset that you talked about. From the janitor to the front office, it was like one band, one sound. It was important for you to make sure everybody was on the same page.
I think it was really important because there were a ton of reasons on why we couldn't win, but we didn't want to hear those reasons. And look, it was challenging. And sometimes you'd leave work at night saying, man, we might not win a game. CJ, you remember that first training camp. But I know, here's what we knew. We knew we were going to come out of that training camp with 53 guys that were going to be tough. And I say this all the time. Now, the 06 team that we had was not our best team by far in New Orleans. But if you put the 06 team in a bar fight, they beat any other teams we had. They were tough. And then it took the acquisitions of a guy like Vilma and a guy like Shockey and various players mixed in with that first draft class that was exceptional. And then you have a Super Bowl championship run in 09. Our 11 team was every bit as good as any team we've had. So you create what we always refer to as culture. But you got to pay attention to that. That's like a garden, and that's got to be tended to daily. And for a couple of years, we got away from it, and we didn't have success. And then, man, we had another good draft class, 16, and then there it went again, 17, 18, 19. It's still a people business, and it's still finding like-minded individuals that care about each other and care about being special. And then you got something. But the minute you don't have that, it can very quickly change.
Yeah, and no doubt, I agree. And you mentioned, as far as building that team, you mentioned Drew Brees, you mentioned my man Jonathan Vilma coming in, and we know the end result. Both of those guys end up being Pro Bowl players for you, captains of the team. But it wasn't like that when they was coming up, because Drew Brees, it was like the show The $6 Million Man. Drew Brees was coming from a shoulder injury. Vilma was dealing with his knee injury, right?
It was the land of misfit toys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Look,
Vilma,
JV, we met JV at the Combine. We ate at the Ocean Air restaurant.
Ocean Air, yes.
JV had played a 4-3 Mike backer at Miami. And then that switch came in New York, where all of a sudden, man, that right guard was uncovered. And
wait, no, let me tell that. It wasn't like the right guard was just uncovered. It was like the right guard would look, he was like, oh yeah, I got you. Hey, he ain't going nowhere.
He looking like you a Scooby snack, huh? Like you a Scooby snack.
Oh, bro, he was licking his lips, and I was like, man, I ain't signed up for this. This is not what I signed up for.
Hey, there was no one between them. There was no tackle.
Hey, Vilma, tell me, man, how you go from the Big Apple to who that, man, and just turn that thing around for yourself.
Man, it's what Sean said. It was getting drafted. Herm Edwards drafted me. I had a really, really good linebacker coach in Bob Sutton. And we were playing a 4-3. It was, Herm Edwards, cover 2, 4-3, and you fly around. Had a lot of success, but then, the thing about the NFL, which I learned very, very quickly, is, the talent is all very close among all the teams. It's about how hard you're going to work in the off season. You're going to basically reinvent yourself, so to speak, and keep that passion and that drive. And so, I thought it was a no-brainer coming from Miami that each year we're going to have sustained success. Well, then my second year in the league, we go 4-12, and Herm Edwards gets fired, and in comes Mangini from the Patriots because at the time, Woody Johnson, he just wanted a Patriot guy. That's all he wanted. He was like, I want a Patriot guy. They're the ones that keep kicking our ass, so I want a Patriot guy. And so Mangini comes in, he gets free reign, he switches us to a 3-4, and then, like I said, that just wasn't what I signed up for. I was like, I don't know this part of the NFL, but this is not what I want. So, I told my agent, about how if there is a possibility of me being traded, if the Jets would entertain it, I would love to go. And I remember playing against Drew Brees my rookie year, playing against him twice. we went out to San Diego back then. It was San Diego Chargers, and played against him, LaDainian Tomlinson, and then played against him again in the playoffs. And I remember he had a ton of weapons, ton of firepowers, and it was some really, really good games, some heated games. But it was always about, we beat them in overtime, but I remember it was like it was never over. You could never just put them away. You couldn't put them away because of Drew Brees. So he ends up blowing out his shoulder a year later or 2 years later, then goes to New Orleans. So my agent asked me, he said, well, where would you like to go? And I said, well, if I have my druthers, I would like to go to a team with a really good quarterback. And I had Chad Pennington with the Jets, but Chad would always have shoulder injuries. And so he was on, if I was there 4 years, Chad Pennington had like 5 shoulder surgeries, right? And he knew everything up here, but it just didn't translate when he was throwing. So I say, give me a team with a quarterback. It ended up being Detroit Lions and New Orleans Saints. The Jets wouldn't send me to a couple other places. They're like, nope, not happening. So I was like, I'm sitting on the plane like, please God, anything but Detroit. I've never really prayed like this before, God, but please just do me this one. Do me one solid, please. So,
hey, but I heard about you. They say you're a miracle worker, huh?
So I finally got that call from my agent saying I was going to the Saints, and the first thing I thought was, this was my second coming. It was a chance to really reinvent myself, to prove myself over again, because the NFL always stands for not for long, and you quickly can turn into, oh, that guy's the next so and so, to wait, what happened to that guy? Oh, he's washed up, or he was kind of good. Maybe he just had a little success early on, but just really wasn't that good. So, when I got to New Orleans, I had a chip on my shoulder, and Sean said it perfectly. We were a band of misfits. Nobody wanted us, and that's the God honest truth. I went from first round pick to only 2 teams wanted me, and one of those teams was going 0-16. Right. So, it was a chip on my shoulder, coupled with a guy like Drew Brees, best teammate I ever had, who had a chip on his shoulder. Literally chip on his shoulder with the surgery and everything, and then mentally he was there. And then you got a crazy coach in Payton, who all he wanted to do was compete. I mean, Sean really thought that he could play football. I mean, I've never seen a head coach that would run up on you and try you in the middle of the game as if I couldn't beat his ass. I'm like, what is this? This guy's trying me as if I'm not the 230-pound linebacker, right? So you get a combination of tremendous players, passionate players. You get the coaching staff that's equally as passionate, equally as aggressive, and you got a mix. You got this recipe for 7-8 years of just sustained success. The best times that I had in the NFL, the funnest times. I mean, I always tell people I couldn't have written this book any better. I win a Super Bowl in Miami, my hometown. I'm doing it with guys that I'm still friends with now. I had a ton of fun. It just couldn't have written the script any better.
Right, man. So true. Hey, CJ, jump in there, man. From your bird's eye view, coming from Miami, winning national championship. Now you go to New Orleans. What did Sean do to turn that thing around so quickly?
I think the first thing Sean did, he got the building together, like we talked about, from the front office all the way down to the ticket man, to the janitor. Sean got everybody on the same page. And I think that's one of the most crucial things in New Orleans that hadn't been. And Sean has a keen eye for talent. I've never seen a guy that could just pick out a quarterback who couldn't throw. When Brees first got there, that first spring, he didn't throw a pass. He couldn't throw. But Sean always has a vision. He knows what he wants. And what I like about Sean, he ain't afraid to say it. It ain't no hard feelings. Either you're doing it or you don't. Either this or that guy. And like everyone said, the motivation, great motivator, man. We get into it, but he doesn't hold a grudge. But it's fine. But you got to get in. Sometimes you got to get uncomfortable. And I like how he does it. He makes guys uncomfortable. So I mean, it was going to work. It was going to work no matter what.
Right, no doubt, no doubt. Hey, Coach, why don't you elaborate? Because obviously you like Batman, but you got your Robin with Mickey Loomis. How is it working for him? And tell me about that combination. How y'all was able to build that to a Super Bowl winning team?
Michael, I think it's awfully important. There's 32 NFL teams, and what's required is obviously a vision, that ownership at the general manager, the head coach, quarterback position. There's so many of our teams in our league that have dysfunction somewhere in those relationships, and as difficult as it is to win already, it becomes almost impossible. And so those teams can beat you on a Sunday, but those are teams that we're never going to fear in the long run, the postseason or the Super Bowl. And so the job when it opened did not appear to be a good job. In hindsight, it became a very good job because of our ownership, because of Mickey Loomis, who was like a close friend of mine. He's very fair. I mean, rarely do we ever have disagreements, and we spend a lot of time. Now, sometimes we'll close the door and we'll visit, but it's hard enough. It's hard enough, though. It's hard enough to do. And if the egos get in the way and all the other things get in the way, it's not fair to the team. And then you spin your wheels. So, look, you got to, as a young coach, your first year or two, you got to establish some credibility. And so our early success in 06 helped us tremendously with credibility. And then, as we went through the draft and as we went through the acquisition of players that came into our team, we really focused on, because there's a lot of cities. And New Orleans is one of those cities. If you want to find trouble, or if you want to find places to be other than football, it's easy to find. So it became very important for us to find guys that were focused on football. I mentioned the first draft class. When you look at you're drafting second overall in the draft, well, you earned that position, so you better find a way to make that count. Reggie Bush was the first round pick. He played 11, 12 years. Roman Harper, 11, 12 years. Jari Evans, 12 years. Ninkovich, we didn't have the right vision, but he went on and won Super Bowls for another team. All right. 7th round, Zach Streif, Marcus Colston. That became an important draft class to at least begin to build on. Right. And then free agent signing Drew Brees. It wasn't big news at the time it happened, but it was significant. All right. Trade for Jonathan Vilma. That wasn't breaking news, and yet that became significant. And I would say to this day, our best trade was the Vilma trade, and our best free agent signing was the Drew Brees signing. And those are decisions that lead to championships. And I think that Mickey, to his credit, was never afraid to make or go out on the limb and make some decisions that sometimes people will be careful not to make a mistake, or they don't want to put themselves out there. And so, look, there's a lot that goes into it, and it starts with the players, though, and being around the right type of players.
No doubt, Coach. Well said. And I'm gonna ask this question for all three. What do you think was there a defining moment where it all just came together? Was it like one game, one point where you like, this is it, where it put y'all over the top and set you on course to put it all together?
All right, let me listen. I've been talking a lot. Let me quickly go first, and I want the others to answer however they feel. But 06 was. We won 10 games in 06 and had the 2 seed. Now that's unusual. I mean, twice since then, we've won 13 games and played in the wild card round. And so that 06 team turned it around. But, man, in 09, a lot of things came together. And the mini camp was competitive. We had new players on defense, some veteran leadership. Same way on offense. I remember looking outside my window and I heard a big ruck. I didn't know what was going on. And I looked down, and Anthony Hargrove, our defensive tackle, was running 300s, part of our conditioning test. He had made a bet with about 20 players that he could do 2 conditioning tests. JD, you remember this?
I remember it
Yeah.
clear as day. Anthony Hargrove, 298 pounds, running this conditioning test.
He said, I'll do 2 of them. And it was like Cool Hand Luke when he said he could eat 40 eggs. And I'll never forget watching him. He did 2 conditioning tests and fell out and won. And the players won. We had guys, man, that cared. And then when the season started, the games, they ran together. I can't remember the first win, the second win. Pretty soon it's 8 wins, 9 wins. We get behind early on the Dolphins. We come back, get that win. We steal a win at Washington. And they began to come together. But it was a byproduct of the ingredients in the locker room. It was a byproduct of who was there at the right time with leadership. JB had come in and given us what Drew had given us on offense. You know, JB saw an offset back. He saw a tight split. He knew it was one of 3 plays. He called it out, cheat over half a step, you know, and so much of our game is not only the ability, but the intelligence of understanding how to win each week over and over and over again. And so I think that 09 team had the football IQ, the talent, and then also the grit and the toughness.
Hey man, all right, I'll go, CJ. I'll go into that 09. I'll never forget the moment I knew we were going to be really good. I didn't know we were going to win it all or anything like that. I just knew we were going to be really damn good. We had, as Sean mentioned, some very lively practices in mini camp, and then going into training camp. That first, 10 days of camp, those are the real dog days, and we were still getting after it, going after it. I'll never forget our second preseason game. We decide we're going to go to Houston and we're going to have joint practices versus Houston. And, we won our first game against the Bengals, the preseason game, but, it's really nothing you can really take a hat of. It's everyone just out there playing real basic. So this is our first time we're going against, live competition in practice. And so we go up there, and I'll never forget our very first practice against Houston. On defense, we got into about 3 fights. And then on offense, we got into about 3 fights. And we come back and we were like, man, is it me or is Houston just one slow as hell and soft as hell and just couldn't keep up with our pace? And so we practiced against them the next day, and they basically had to kind of slow it down and back it up because our tempo and our aggression was just too much for Houston. And it wasn't anything after the whistle. It was that we were just so much faster, so much more aggressive when it was full pads on and it's called thud. We're going to really thud, hit, run you back, etc. And then on the offensive side, because they were so used to the way that we practiced against them in training camp, they were running their guys over because the guys didn't understand what the real tempo was that we set. So going back to kind of setting the bar, we had set the bar so high against each other that when we went against Houston, it was like playing against a JV team, a JV squad, and they just did not understand how far along we were with our tempo. And then, as Sean mentioned, we had some talent. So I remember Houston then telling us, okay, wait till the game. All right, sure. So we go into the game, and we beat their ass. It was like 30-0 come halftime. We're out of the game, and we're yucking it up. But when the game was over with, because even our second team and third team players, the tempo was so much greater than Houston's. I remember we got on the bus. I was talking to the late Will Smith. I was talking to Charles Grant. I was talking to Darren Sharper, and we were like, you know what, guys? We're about to be pretty damn good. Like we're no BS. We're about to be pretty damn good. If we keep this pace up, we're about to turn some heads. So that 3-day window, about 4 practices and 1 preseason game, that's when it all came together, and I knew that we got a shot. We're gonna be pretty good.
Awesome, awesome. CJ, jump in there, man.
Okay, Mike, for me, it was two things. In '06, John, before you were there, and we played the Dallas Cowboys in Shreveport, and they looked like the biggest, toughest team. And I don't know, Sean, if you can remember this. I don't know if we even got a first down. I mean, it was a bludgeoning. I mean, we had no shot, no chance. And I'm gonna say later on in that season, I think it was on a Sunday night, we went to Dallas and we just demolished. And from that moment on, I knew we were going to sooner or later, we had the right formula going and we were going to be good. But that year, that 2006 year, it reminded me so much of UM. It reminded me of practices, guys were tackling all the time.
Right.
And it didn't matter. They were tackling, and I'm just telling you, we were running guys over. We were trying to hurt guys. Not hurt them, but it was very, very competitive. And I remember, John Vilma and those guys standing by my line, and I wasn't giving Greg Williams a day of light. I was on him every day. Me and Darren Sharper would go at it all the time. And it was just the competitiveness in practice that reminded me of UM. It didn't matter, pads or not. I mean, the dress of the day didn't matter because somebody was going to get thrown to the ground and there was going to be some type of scuffle. Yes. Then when it wasn't a scuffle, Sean was creating a scuffle. It was just one thing after another. And so it was one of those times where you just knew that we were going to be good. In the games, in that year, if you look at the games, especially early on, the games were easy.
Right.
I mean, practice was harder than the games.
Right. Just like that UM attitude, man, where practice harder than the game. Coach, I'm sorry, you got something to say, Coach?
Well, there's a lesson there, and I believe this. In any individual, in you're practicing to run a race, and it's quiet, and it's early morning or the late evening, and you're out on the field, and you're doing whatever it is that you do, whatever sport it is that you do, and you're working, but you haven't had a chance yet to know what the rest of the competition's doing. In other words, you've got to assume they're at a certain level, and you've got to, if you wait to the first game to see where to put your toe in the water, then it's probably too late. And to JB's point, we had gone against each other for all spring, all early training camp, and then finally you get a chance to see another jersey. And then very quickly you realize, man, they haven't been doing what we've been doing. And there's some power in that, in that that you've prepared more, harder, longer, smarter, and that, like anything else, you gain a little confidence. Confidence comes in days, in events, in a scrimmage, in a 7-on-7, in a moment. And then you begin to bank some of that confidence, and then again, and then again, and then pretty soon, look out. But it's when you're training without an eye on the competition that can be most challenging.
Right. And when you talk about confidence, man, one confidence remind me of y'all going into the Super Bowl, and you guys was a 15-point underdog, if I'm not mistaken. So let's transition to that. But before we transition that, let's huddle up, man. Tell them, hey, man, you know how we do it. You know how the Saints do it before they take the field. Let me see what you got, baby.
Let's be special. Let's be strong. Let's smell greatness from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
man. Yeah! Love it.
Hey,
I love it.
The first time, Drew would always ask me in training camp, Coach, can I grab the players at the practice to work on the chant? And that 09 chant, I said, yeah. And then I kind of would sit back and listen, And when I tell you this, the first time he did it, I thought, Drew, man, we are never going to figure that chant out. Like, in other words, I don't know. Like, he had just been to like Guantanamo Bay or somewhere, and he had this whole thing worked out. But it was like a complex third down play. And to this day, I haven't figured it out. So I just saw the highlights of some of it, but man, you had to be like a Phi Beta Kappa to know that one.
Oh man.
Hey,
Crazy.
hey, now I'm shocked. Vilma, what being a Miami linebacker wasn't the guy that got that started. To be honest with you.
Nah, it was Drew's show. Listen, there are a few things I knew, not to really step on. I knew where the boundaries were. So I was like, hey, that's Drew's thing, and we're gonna let Drew handle it. And I'm a great teammate. I'll keep supporting.
Hey, but guys, Super Bowl 44, amazing 2009 champs, man. Playing the great Indianapolis Colts, obviously being not just a underdog, but a double-digit underdog. You don't have a chance. Obviously, Coach, we kind of know a little inside information, and we got a few stories. Man, you guys, just all three of you guys, talk to us about the game. Obviously, you guys, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, you got you in the middle, Vilma, you got, your pass rush was unbelievable. Their pass rush was even more unbelievable. So, I mean, Coach, we'll start with you, man. Like, what were the things going into that game that you knew you had to get done?
Two things that come to my mind right away. And I remember, when we won the NFC Championship game, it was the first time ever in New Orleans history. And so the city that night, you couldn't drive your car anywhere downtown. And so I remember Coach Parcells at the Dolphins. He was the president at that time. He wasn't coaching, but he said something to me that rang true. I mean, he said, look, you got to be careful now that you don't allow the good vibes and the feeling and the jubilation and all of the things that the city was excited about. You got to be careful that that's not just the end game. In other words, it's only special if you win it. And you're going to be playing against a team that was just 4 years prior in Miami, had beaten the Bears, the Dolphins at the same stadium. The Colts had played. They were at the same hotel. Peyton Manning was in the same room. In other words, you mess around and go down there getting caught up in about just being in the Super Bowl, you're going to get blown out of this game. And he was pretty serious about having, like, not inventing a crisis, but if there came a time, this would be a game where you would have a come to Jesus meeting. And so, look, it happened, and it wasn't planned. Tuesday's media day back then. It used to be always on Tuesday, players' day off. Well, everyone knew on Monday night, players were going out, especially in Miami. So here comes Tuesday. Colts are up first at the stadium. Saints are going to be up second. Our bus leaves at 9:30. Second bus leaves at 9:40. So we got 4 or 5 buses. Easy to get on. Well, we got 5 players that missed both buses. And we're at the locker room. I know CJ and JB remember this. And when there's players that aren't there, when you see the assistant coaches on their phone texting, they're quiet, so our DB coach was working, and we had 5 players late for media day. And the league is calling us out on the field. We close the locker room down, kick everybody out. Players come in, and we kind of have a little come to Jesus meeting on that Tuesday. And when I tell you Wednesday and Thursday's practice were on point, they were on point. And that was one thing that was important is what's that satisfaction bar for you? Is it accomplishing something that the organization never had, or was it even greater than that? And then secondly was, all of us being willing enough to risk and play for that. The whole point of the onside kick was not the strategic, we thought that they were leaving early. But when you look at it, we kicked the ball and there was a scrum for 2 minutes. If I knew there was going to be a 2-minute scrum, I never would have called it. But the point being is we were going into that game to win. And if I, as a head coach, was going to be able to tell our team, look, I'm calling this, trust me. And they believe it. Then there's a feeling that takes place where we can overcome, because the first half was a fairly low scoring first half, and we didn't do much offensively. Defensively, we played pretty well, and we went in at halftime behind. But to come out and execute the kick, but then score on the opening sequence that we put together in the locker room at halftime, we put 8 plays on paper. We scored on play 6. Fox 2 double go screen right to H. Pierre Thomas scores a touchdown. All of a sudden, the players are seeing the vision that we talked about. Right. And I think the other thing that was important is Payton Manning went basically about an hour and 10 minutes between snaps. The last snap of the second quarter between his first snap of the third quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's powerful. That's powerful. Hey, I want to circle back round to that onside kick because, man, that coach, you got some big balls, baby. To come out the second half. Hey, tell them, hey, let's show the video of this kick because I mean this is a game changer. This is a game changer play, and man, it's amazing that you called it.
Saints trailing at the half 10-6, and we'll be taking the football away to begin the second half. Thomas Morse steps into the football, and it's an onside kick. And it's going to be covered up by Chris Reed on the lead. They're still fighting for it. No indication as yet. Still a battle down there. Still a scrum.
We got it. We got it. Yeah, you get out of here. You get out of here. You get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Hey, we got the ball.
Boy, you're talking about not afraid. Sean Payton. He said big games. You got to make tough decisions.
Hey, this can't happen. We had the ball. Get out of here. Get out of here. White ball. White ball. White ball.
There's the first indication. Really unbelievable decision by Sean Payton.
Hey, see ya. We got it. See ya. Get out of here.
Chris Reese is the man who recovered it.
Hey, Coach, that was a game changer, man. Like I said, did you hold your breath the whole time? Could you breathe?
Hey, do any of you remember the first time you had a raw oyster?
Yeah.
It felt like
I used to eat
serious. The first time you ever had a raw oyster, you had a lump in your throat, and you were just
right there. Yep,
hey.
right there.
And so it was one of those. Look, I think Hank might have been up with Kendra on that reality TV show till 2 a.m. I'm hoping. Listen, but man, our player, that was a grind. I mean, how many hands did that ball touch in that pile? I have no idea. But fortunately, we got it. And the biggest mistake is going in at halftime, we were going to be heading the other direction. And when I came out the second half, I realized we were going to kick this ball on the Indianapolis Colts sideline. And quickly, when they were teeing the ball up to start the second half, I said, no, we want to go right to left.
Yes.
He said, you said left to right. I said, no, I want to go right to left.
Yes.
And so they flip it. It's a lot easier to win the ball when surrounded by 80 white jerseys.
That's right. Hey, Vilma, what I know in the locker room heading out, he said, man, he's going to call it. What did you think about that play? And I mean, overall, what was your thought process when Coach told y'all he was going to call that play at halftime?
And honestly, we looked at each other. He comes in, goes to the defense. Hey, guys, we're going to do this onside kick. And, I look at my guys. It's like, good. Finally, I mean, you practice it for 2 weeks. You might as well. So we were like, we don't care, and just seriously though, going on Sean's mentality, it didn't matter what was called, but coach, you want to do this, we're gonna do it. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get it done. So we never worried about that. And my biggest memory from those 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl was Sean Payton's motivation. CJ talked about Sean Payton's a great motivator. I'll never forget Sean Payton. Every day he had a board and he had the line we were the underdogs. He had the line of how much we were supposed to lose by. And every day he would show that to us. And every day he would tell us, we got the best team and we're the underdog. He said, this is the best position to be in, is to be the better team as the underdog. There is no pressure on us. We are the better team and we're the underdog. And I'm telling you, every day, first thing, we'd see it, look at it, and some people would put a chip on their shoulder. Other people, it put them at ease. Other people gave them confidence, right? So you have a team that's full of confident, mad, angry, chip on their shoulder guys that want to go out and win. And you talk about keeping us focused. Like, that kept me focused right there. Like, I'm watching film, and how are you telling me that they're better than us? Why does the line keep saying that? So, I remember that every day from Sean Payton, motivating us with just little things like that stuck. And that's how we played in that game.
Hey, CJ, jump in and what does it mean? Like, the theme that week was what? No distractions, serve your teammate. Coach dressed up.
Absolutely. So two things Sean and Mickey did, and it was just as coaches, we were just amazed, and we understood the detail of it. The one thing they did, they had a meeting with all our wives, and they told every wife, whatever happens this week, you guys stay together. Do not be a distraction for the coaches. And I mean, for some of us, that was the best thing in the world. Because they were going to Miami, they had the kids, they had everything. The second thing was, when we got in Miami off the bus, you wouldn't believe this, Sean Payton was in a Bellman suit. And he was taking the luggage off the buses for the players. He had some of the captains. And so when the players, they were coasting, all those guys were asking me, man, what's going on? SP, he's starting to serve us. He's doing us something good for us. And so that moment on in the practices, it was just awesome. It was the best thing he could ever do. He's a master motivator.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Coach, what about that? Where did you get that idea from, Coach, to dress in a bellhop uniform?
Hey, every once in a while, and every one of you guys has cheated on a college paper. All right. And so the late, great Bill Walsh did that with his 49ers team in a game he felt like he wanted them to be relaxed. And so the one thing, if you guys remember that year, was the first year they played the Pro Bowl before the Super Bowl. And so 9 of our players traveled to Miami ahead of our team. And that kind of bothered me a little bit because, look, we were all a team together. So all 9 of our Pro Bowl players, Jari, you name it, every one of them, John, all of us that were there early, they all had gotten Bellman's uniforms. And so when the rest of the team came, the Pro Bowl players, myself, were there dressed, and credit Mike Ornstein for finding Bellman outfits for all you guys, because that was hard to do. But it was, man, we're going to have fun with this as well now. This journey of ours, at 13-3 at that point, 14, 15-3 at that point, it wasn't ended. The hardest thing about the Super Bowl is the minute it's over, and when it's the only game you're not in the locker room together, and then you're on the buses, and we're never going to be together. There's no more games to play. We're out of opponents. That was hard.
Oh, that was powerful. Hey, speaking of the game, before we close on that, hey, Vilma, I know a lot of it is offense with Drew Brees versus Peyton Manning, but it was a game within the game between you and Peyton to check with me, blitzes and stuff like that. Talk about that strategy going to the game. Y'all had like 3 defensive game plans heading to that game?
Yeah, we had 2. We had a first half defensive game plan, then the second half defensive game plan. And, I think the most important part was we were not trying to stop Peyton Manning. That's impossible. We were trying to slow Peyton Manning down. So Peyton Manning was averaging 400 yards passing. We're trying to have him at 3-something, somewhere around there. Peyton Manning's giving them, 31, 38 points a game. We're trying to bring that down to, 17 points, 20 points a game. So our whole mentality was we're gonna give him the little stuff, and we know he's gonna know where to throw the ball. We're gonna give him the little stuff, And then if we have an opportunity to confuse him, we're going to try that. So instead of, moving around and disguising too much, we said, all right, we'll show a look and then try to time it right before the snap where we get ourselves into position. Because one thing about Payton, you can sit there in disguise, but if you put yourself out of position, it doesn't matter how much you disguise. So we tried to make sure that we would then rotate our safeties down, or start to spread the linebackers out a little bit, cheat the linebackers, or stunt the defensive line right before the snap. So it at least made him think. And if we had him thinking when the ball was snapped, as opposed to already knowing where he's going to go with the ball, we felt like that was giving ourselves a chance. So that was the whole mindset for us defensively. And then fortunately, I was able to get in rhythm. Greg Williams was able to get in rhythm with our defensive calls and our checks. Fortunately, Payton's checks all held up, or most of them held up. So they got 10 points on us early, and I'll never forget. He got the first 10 points. I go to the sideline, and Greg Williams, he asked me, hey, is everything good? I said, you know what? Yeah, everything is really good, because all his checks are holding up to what I heard it was going to be, or what I saw on film. So now, we can go. We can go. He was like, you sure? I said, yeah, we can go. And from that point on, they only got 7 points the rest of the game. And, we played well enough. And fortunately, Drew and Sean, they lit up they torched that Indy cover 2. So, for me, it was really about the 2 weeks and making sure that I didn't get down on any plays that Payton made, because it was about slowing them down.
Right. And
one thing, Mike.
Go ahead, Coach.
I would say in JV, you would, man, I thought the 2 weeks in preparation, what Brunell was able to do to simulate, Payton and their offense was so important for our defense. And to JV's point, there you felt a total confidence relative to our defensive plan. And I thought Mark did a good job just simulating Peyton Manning's man.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
What he Uber
he was talking about Mark Brunell.
His service ain't that good where he could be driving around.
He was talking about in practice, Mark Brunell.
Right.
You talk about the epitome of a solid veteran, man. He gave us the best look that we can get, not just from the checks and all the loud talking of Payton. He would also wind that play clock down. He would also know when to snap the ball. He made sure, not just for us, he made sure that the splits were accurate, that the running back splits were accurate. Everything of attention to detail that we needed to see, Mark Brunell he was there. And that helped so much, because we go in the game, and like I said, I sit down the sideline, complete composure, and I'm like, yeah, Greg, this is everything that we've seen, everything that we practice. And you know what it's like when you're in the game, you're in control, so you have that calm about you and that confidence about you. And yeah, Mark Brunell did a tremendous job for those 2 weeks.
And you talking about Mark Brunell, Hall of Fame quarterback. Jacksonville Jaguars Hall of Fame quarterback is y'all scout team. And that's the thing what Payton was saying about service one another, no distraction. He's epitome of that. This guy can have an attitude like, man, scout team player, what you mean? I'm Jacksonville Jaguar,
quite the opposite. Yeah, quite the opposite. He was a true veteran, true pro.
That's awesome. Now one of the plays you talked about as far as the checks holding up and whatnot, I want to look, it changed the game. It sealed the victory. Hey, tell him, hey, play this play, man. Because talk me through this play here, Vilma, talking about Porter pick 6. Talk me through it, what happened, because he set on that route. He was ready to go.
Yeah, it was called automatic front coverage. You may remember Greg Williams.
I know AFC, automatic. Okay. Hey, Taylor, go ahead and play the video, please. Go ahead and talk.
It's picked off. It's Tracy Porter again. He's running free. He's going to go all the way. Hands outstretched. It is a safe touchdown. 70 yards on the return. 70 yards on the return by Porter.
It was a man free look. We first started in cover 2, then we went to a man free look. And as I said, his checks were holding up.
Right.
So Payton had called Seattle, and I knew that route combination for Seattle. So then I went into a fire zone blitz. So right before the snap, I called a fire zone blitz, and it was one that Payton hadn't seen in the first half. He's seen every fire zone known to man, but we didn't run that fire zone in the first half.
Hold on, Vilma. Hold on a second, right? I don't want to just run past this moment right here, right? Because offensively, we're so used to the quarterback doing the checks and all this, right? But you're saying you're checking for the blitz, right?
Yeah.
The middle linebacker, right? They don't, not with the system in your ear, like telling you what to do, right? You're making the check. I don't want to run past that. Talk us through that whole thing right there, because that's not normal.
So, man, you put me on the spot, Mike.
Yeah,
so,
because
you know, it was the way that you know, the new age linebackers, you have to play the game that way. You have to play it like a quarterback. So by the formation recognition, I knew that they were coming out. It was, we would call it a China route or big route from the number one receiver. And so, you know, that route combination is good versus a cover two, where you have that hole right behind the seam linebacker. But if you end up with a squat corner, that route combination is a no-go, as we saw. So what happened was Peyton Manning, he lined them up, and then based on what he saw, which he thought was a cover two, and then we were going to switch to a man free, he said Seattle. And I knew what that route combination was going to be from the first two quarters, first two and a half quarters of the game, hearing Seattle and watching the film. So I put us in what I thought was the best defensive position at the time, which was to send a fire zone, which is a blitz from the strong side, and then squat the corner on that strong side. You never usually see a squat corner to the blitz side. Usually what happens is you blitz and then a safety rotates down and, you know, we'll make that play. So that's what happened. We gave the look. I made the check. Everyone got the check. We blitzed off the edge. Peyton Manning read the blitz. He thought, okay, easy hot read over to Reggie Wayne. He'll be there. And sure enough, Tracy Porter did exactly what he was supposed to do, man. He squatted on the route. He was squatting on all the routes, squatted on that route, and then took it to the house, sealed the game.
No, man, that was amazing, man. That was a game changer play right there, man. That changed the game. And I mean, and what I love about it, Vilma, is like preparation, man. Like even when we started the show, right, you talk about your standard, right? And I told you, man, you are the poster child for on and off the field taking care of business. And what you just walked us through, man, emphasize that same thing, man. I mean, emphasize. That's why I say I didn't want to just run past that moment, because that was a game changer, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate
game changer for that. So talk about the aftermath, man. Talk about now y'all won the title. Y'all celebrating and do it for New Orleans, Louisiana, far as 2 or 3 years removed from Hurricane Katrina. CJ, being a hometown New Orleans, man, talk to me about that feel, man, coming home to Super Bowl champ.
Oh, man, the parade was awesome. It was the best parade ever. It was freezing cold, and, I mean, there were more people out there, and it was near Mardi Gras season. I mean, I thought everyone showed out, man, in the city. The city was pumped. It was great. The after party was great. We had, like, Harry Connick Jr. was in the, I think, was playing, and it was just first class. Mickey and Sean, Mr. Benson, all those guys, it was first class. And the team, like Joe Bitt used to say, we win, we walk together forever. It's been one of those deals where that's what we do. We've been together ever since that moment.
Hey, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, one of the things that came out of this video, man, that championship was, hey, Sean, are you back, coach? Holla at me. I need you for this one. What with you, Uber driver? What you doing? Hey, I need you for this. Now, one of the things that came from that victory, man, was tell me about this. Hey, hold on. I'd rather show you better than I tell you. Tell them, hey, bring it up what I'm talking about. I need to ask you a question about this. I need you to coach me up on this right here. Tell them, hey, go ahead. I need you to coach me up right quick.
Saints fans, the whole nation, go ahead, hit the show, baby. You know you're here for it. Why you waiting? Do your dance. Hit the Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Saints fan. Hit the Sean Payton. Black and gold. I bleed that. Another Super Bowl ring. I need that. Look, we done heard it all. Give your feedback. And on Sundays, you know where I be at. Our stars align, baby. Zodiac ends on attacks by wide receivers and running backs. Yeah, we running up scores like a racetrack. And if you ask who, I'ma say we that. Oh, Saints fan, yeah. The whole nation, yeah. Go ahead, hit the Sean Payton. You know you're here for it. Why you wait? Do your dance. Hit the Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Do your dance. Hit the Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Saints fan. Hit the Sean Payton. Coach made a dance for the NOLA babies. And it don't matter if you
Can you show us how to do the Sean Payton, baby?
Mike, I'm gonna give you credit first off. You did your homework for this show. All right. Now, I'm speaking on behalf. K-Lou, listen, I appreciate you being on. CJ, God bless you. JB, but you have to understand something. We got about 15 text messages, 10 emails for this show. All right, like reminders. And Mike would be like, hey, it's coming up. And then, hey, it's going to be, hey, another. And it just kept coming. I'm like, man, what are we doing here? And then I finally, it's all coming together. Like, you've been putting this together. Like, so here's the deal. Y'all have been around JB enough to know he really can't dance. There's not a lot of rhythm. He's got
Whoa.
No, seriously though. Don't assume just because he went to the U and played middle linebacker, he can dance. So one of the things we have to do as coaches is feel like that there's a little something needs to be picked up. We'll step in and do it. And that's what we do.
That wasn't it. I'll tell you what, that wasn't it.
Oh my gosh. Michael, I give you credit now. Hey, and here's the deal, Mike. We're at an hour. You've exceeded your time.
Okay.
You follow me? Like, we've done more here than inside the NFL, HBO, whatever. Like, honestly, and I know if I go to my mailbox the next 2 weeks, there's not going to be any check in there from Michael. So I'm going to get on with my summer vacation. I'm going to encourage CJ to do the same. K-Lou, I'm going to encourage you to do the same. And same with you, Vilma.
I appreciate it, Coach. I appreciate you. I really thank you.
Out.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thanks, man.
All right, Mike B, I'm gone.
CJ, man, I appreciate you guys, man.
Anytime, brother.
Oh, hey, hold on, CJ, before you go, man. Hey, for y'all sleeping on this dude, all right? This is Curtis Johnson. All right? This guy is the legend. I'm telling you, look, from UM, Coach, your roll call, Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, what?
Tanner Moss, Marcus Colston.
Yes,
sir. Mike Thomas, the best in the league right now. Yes, sir.
Hey, this dude right here, all right, Curtis Johnson. Let me spotlight this video right here. All right, hey, this dude, give credit where credit is due, give honor where honor is due. This is that guy right there. Hey, those guys that we mentioned, half of them, hey, they weren't famous before they got to him. This guy, man, this guy is the best receiver coach by far. By far. Everywhere he go, right? Hey, guys produce. They produce, man. So, Coach, I want to give you some love. Like I told you, we got to do a show just on you because, man, you are a living legend. You get it done. You get it done. You take everybody game to the next level. The definition of a coach is to take him from one destination.
All right, we at 7:30.
Excuse me. Like Vilma was talking, right? You take guys from where they are to where they could be the next level, Coach. So before you go, I just want to give honor to you, man. I appreciate you, Coach.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Thank you.
All right, well, we got out. K-Lou, man, close us out. Vilma, thanks again, baby, for coming on. Man, I appreciate you. K-Lou, go ahead and close us out, baby.
Hey, man, we need y'all to like, subscribe, follow, holler at us, man. We appreciate Coach Pay. We appreciate Jonathan Vilma and big time Coach CJ Johnson, man. We appreciate all y'all. We know that, you know, this, we don't take it lightly. You guys took 2 hours out of your day to holler at us, man. We appreciate that. We love y'all, man.
Anytime, man. Appreciate y'all fellas.
Thank y'all.
Great job.
Take it easy, man.
Great job. Great job.
All right.
Tell them, hey, take us out, baby.
I'm gonna take it back from the goal line.
Don't forget to check out our show on Sunday. Coming back on Sunday, we'll take you to the street.
I gotta stand that end zone. Pick me up a basketball. I can make a shot when I'm in the dark. I can grab a baseball and hit the ball right out the park. I'm a crazy different athlete and I can really got talent. Basketball and baseball, two different sports and I can still balance. Can't forget that football, cause that's really my real passion. Catch me on that big field and you gon' see my real talent. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, I'ma take it back from the goal line. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma take it back from the goal line. Fourth quarter is goal time. Finish score on the goal line. We fighting for it. I'm about mine. Make it through. We gon' try. Trying to get 6. Can't get 9. Like Dion. It's prime time. I'm on my grind. It's game time. I'm ballin' out. By the eat. They think it's sweet. No need to cheat. They dropping threes. Hit feel the heat. Cross him up. Got his ankles weak. Behind the back. Got him on his knees. Like John Cena. Can't see me. Too fast. Too much speed. See the dust coming from the cleats. Deep tough. No passing me. Sideline the baseline. You know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline. I'ma shoot my shot. I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline. I'ma take it back from the goal line. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma shoot my shot, I'ma make mine. Sideline the baseline, you know we stay on our grind. Sideline the baseline, I'ma take it back from the goal line. Sideline baseline, sideline baseline, sideline baseline.